Okay, it's good. All right, so I want to start out by defining some terms. um, Integrity has three biblical definitions. One is the condition or quality of being complete, undivided, or unbroken, wholeness. An unimpaired condition, or moral soundness or uprightness. Contractors and engineers often will refer to the integrity of steel. Two pieces of steel can look exactly the same, but under stress, one might support the expected weight, but the other may not. And so the integrity of the steel determines how much weight that it can bear. Um, Character. The Greek word we derive character from means the express image of God. Character is doing what is right repeatedly until it becomes a part of our daily life. Character is built on habits. We teach children routines because we want them to learn diligence, good ethics, how to care for themselves and their environment. So just because we teach them routines, it doesn't mean that they immediately acquire character. Like, okay, well, here's your routine. Now you have character. Ta-da! Character is developed by completing the routines consistently. Integrity and character run hand in hand, but integrity is when character gets into the heart and becomes ingrained into our very being. Character can be trained into a person, and anyone can learn it. Integrity comes from godly conviction. It says, I will do what is right, no matter the consequences, no matter who is or isn't watching. It's an absolute that doesn't waver. Let me give them. Our children learn so much more from what they observe than what we tell them. So I want us to think about, and this lesson's not about raising kids, but I think that it is important because most of us in here have children. If we don't have children, we have others that we're influential with. What are we communicating by our actions? What are we teaching without ever saying anything? What are we reflecting? So no one's perfect. We all have character flaws, myself included. Integrity causes us to be aware of these flaws and through prayer and intentionality work to overcome and correct the flaws. For the purpose of this lesson, I would define integrity as unwavering determination to do right no matter what the circumstances. All right, faithful or faithfulness. There are several definitions that I want to read real quickly. Firm and adherence to the truth and to the duties of religion. Revelation 2:10 says, "Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." God rewards faithfulness. Firmly adhering to duty, of true fidelity, loyal, true to allegiance, as a faithful subject. Constant in the performance of duties or services, exact in attending to commands, as a faithful servant. Observant of compact, treaties, contracts, vows, or other engagements, true to one's word. A government should be faithful to its treaties, individuals to their word. True, exact, in conformity with the letter and the spirit. So faithful execution of a will. Often we talk about the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, being faithful to both. True to the marriage covenant as a faithful wife or husband. Conformable to truth as a faithful narrative or representation, being faithful in how you retell something. Constant, not fickle, as a faithful lover or friend. True or worthy of belief. So I want to emphasize number 8. Constant, not fickle. Faithful. Are we faithful? Exodus 20:18 through 23 reads, "And the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where God was. And the Lord said unto Moses, Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. So the children of Israel had been told to come to the base of the mountain because God was going to speak to them. And very quickly they said, "Oh, hold up. We don't want to hear from God. He's scary. I tell you what, you go talk to him. We'll wait back here. You talk to us." So Moses goes up. And instead of, you would think they're waiting on a word from God. How often are we going through things and we're waiting? We need to hear from the Lord. But they were like, "Oh, this is not comfortable. Let's not do this. You be the spokesperson." And so Moses goes up, and instead of waiting earnestly at the base, like, "Oh, I wonder what he's going to come back and say. We're waiting on a word from the Lord," they kind of go back to their same old, go back to the routine. They wander around and, go through their daily lives. And 40 days he's up there, but they're not waiting earnestly. They're going about their life. And so instead of waiting for a word from God, they end up commanding Aaron, "Look, we sent Moses up, but he's had enough time by now. Tell you what, why don't you make us some gods? We'll worship them." And so in not earnestly waiting and not attentively paying attention and waiting to hear from God, they end up doing the very thing that God's telling Moses. Like, God's literally telling Moses, "Don't be creating gods of silver or gold." And they're down there doing it because they weren't willing to wait to hear from the Lord. And so I want to ask a question. Are we living vicariously through our leadership? Are we outsourcing our spirituality? Years ago, I just realized I'm telling a couple of personal stories, and they all involve hunting season. I refer to myself as a hunting widow. Actually, this year, poor thing, he doesn't get to do it very much. When you own your own business, suddenly you can't take off from work as often. So Jason was leaving to go hunting a couple of years ago, and he always, anytime he's going to go on an extended trip, he'll say, "Is there anything you want or anything you want to do?" He's kind of bartering, like, "I know that this is going to try your patience. What can I do to kind of butter you up before?" And I said, "Well, I really have been thinking about painting the dining room. Would you go to Sherman-Williams and pick up some paint?" He's like, "Oh, sure." He's thinking, I got off easy this time. So he brings home the paint and he goes on the trip. And I paint the dining room, and the color, we had these wooden lawyer panels in our family room that was right next to the dining room. The color just made the richness of these lawyer panels just stand out. I can't talk. And the color was beautiful. And I thought, well, this looks really good. I think I'm going to continue into the entryway. So I just start rolling the entryway. And I get 3 walls done, and I turn and I start rolling the staircase that goes up from the entryway. And I realize this wall that I've already started rolling goes up 2 stories, and I don't have the equipment to finish painting. So I go up the stairs and I paint everything I can possibly reach, and I'm like, trying to get all of it. And he comes home and he walks in and he's like, "Oh man, this looks beautiful. You did a great job." And I'm like, "Yeah, but there's a problem. We're going to need to hire a painter like ASAP because I am not going to want to look at that." So we hire a professional painter. He had the skill set, he had the proper tools, he had scaffolding, he had employees. And so he came in, and what I couldn't do, he did very quickly and made it look, he fixed everything that I'd done wrong. So I ask you a question. We pay our tithes and our offering. We show up for, at least the minimum requirements. Do we think we're paying for a service? Are we applying our American principle of consumerism to the church? One definition of consumerism is the promotion of the consumer's interests. But to me, that doesn't sound like a biblical idea, because 1 Corinthians 13:5 says, "Love doesn't seek its own way." But am I coming to get something? Am I coming because I need a touch from the Lord and I need him to provide a service? Hey, I'm here because things have been rough this week. I made sure and I showed up because I need you to touch me. Pastor, I need you to spend some time studying and praying and seeking the will of God for this congregation because I need a word. Living for God has to be a personal endeavor. And I thank God for godly leadership. I thank God for a pastor who's loving and sensitive and truly cares about our congregation. But we can't just be observers. We can't just come and check in and get what we need and move on. Ephesians 4:11 through 16 says, "And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ, till we all come in the unity of the faith and the knowledge of the Son of God, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, till we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive, but speaking the truth in love, may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Christ, from whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplieth, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, maketh increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love." It's easy to say, well, I didn't get called to the fivefold ministry. But the fivefold ministry was meant to edify the saints for the work of the ministry. We are all called to our part as members of the body of Christ. I'm going to go back. 12, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. He gave the fivefold ministry to help the saints toward doing the work of the ministry. The work of the ministry wasn't just for the fivefold ministry. And then verse 16, from whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplieth, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part. We need every part. And then making the effectual working in the measure of every part maketh increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. Doing our part creates increase. The effectual working in the measure of every part maketh increase to the body unto the edifying of itself. It's not just the job of the fivefold ministry. We are supposed to edify each other. The body is supposed to edify itself. So we need leaders, because anything with more than one head is a freak. Leaders provide structure, direction, and coordination. We need the head, because we need the head to tell the rest of the body what to do, to guide the body, to send signals, to connect. Hey, hand and foot, you're going to have to work together on this. But without the body, the head would be useless. What would the world be like if everyone treated their responsibilities and their priorities like I do? I ask myself that sometimes. So, again, several years ago, this time, the whole family went to the deer lease. The weather was perfect for the deer lease that year. Some years we go, and like Jason said, we've gotten a little teaser of winter, and then we get there, and it's hot. And it just doesn't feel like holidays at the deer lease because it's hot. But this year, it was cold. We're all bundled up in our winter clothes. We had a fire. And I remembered that the kids had bought me a puzzle, and I hadn't got to do it yet. And I had brought it with me. And I asked Jason, hey, this weather's great. Will you please set up a card table out by the fire so I can do the puzzle and enjoy the elements? And so he sets up this card table. And my family jokes that if Mom opens a puzzle, down the rabbit hole she goes. One year, Maggie and I, during the Christmas holidays, literally sat in our living room for, I think, like 36 hours and did not, like, we didn't sleep. We barely ate, and because we were going to finish this puzzle. He would get up for work the next morning because we're all enjoying the holidays, and he had to go to work. And he's like, well, it was okay. I didn't realize you were going to be here, again this morning when I came up. So anyway, it's the weather's beautiful. We're at the deer lease. I don't have a lot to do there, so down the rabbit hole I went. Well, all of the kids that were there, because it wasn't just our family, and even some of the other adults began to join in. And so over the next couple of days, we all worked this puzzle, and it was just such a beautiful time sitting by the fire. The guys I remember they brought space heaters at one point because the fire wasn't good enough, and nobody wanted to leave the puzzle. We were just all enjoying fellowship, and we're enjoying this puzzle. And so it's the last day we have to pack up and leave. And Jason's like, look, I know, and it was this huge, intricate puzzle. He's like, I know you want to finish this, but I don't know if it's going to get done. And I'm like, I'm not leaving until this puzzle's done. And so we get done, and we have one piece missing. And we start looking in the leaf covered ground, and I'm not kidding you. Me and all the kids are like on our hands and knees, and we're searching through these leaves. We are determined we're going to find this one missing puzzle piece. And I don't know how long we searched, but it was a long time. And he finally came and said, we have to pack up. The puzzle is not going to get done. And I don't want to say bitterly, but I was disappointed. Like, you look at this puzzle and one piece is missing, it's not complete, and I began to take it apart and dump it back in the box. And I'm just like, well, it's not going to get done. And the kids were just like, oh, really? I mean, everybody was just so disappointed. And we put it away. And we put it away, and we take apart the table, and we start putting things back in the camper, getting ready to go. And I looked down, and there was the puzzle piece. And so put it in the box. Good news is later on we got to go home, and we actually completed the puzzle. But it wasn't complete. It didn't look right. It was missing something. How does it feel when you are missing that one piece? You feel deflated. Like, this was such a fun thing, and for days we spent together, and we were bound to, but yet we fell short. It felt deflated. Without just one puzzle, a puzzle cannot be, that one piece, a puzzle cannot be completed. So I'm just one puzzle piece. You're just one puzzle piece. But without one part, the body is not complete. Sometimes we think, well, it's just one service. And let me give a disclaimer here. We've had a lot of sickness. If you are sick and you have a contagious, the flu, COVID, whatever, I'm not referring to that. Please, please stay home for the sake of those of us who have compromised immune systems and things like that. So I just want to give a disclaimer. This is not what I'm talking about. But outside of that, how many times is it, well, it's just one service. Well, it's just this activity that I'm not going to. Yeah, I know I was supposed to do that one task, but it's such a minor task. I'm sure they can ask someone else, and someone else will step up and take care of it. Anybody ever plan a party or a get together and only a small fraction of the people you invited shows up? How does that feel? How does it feel when you have one expectation and something else happens? Co-op, we have the homeschool co-op, and we do chapel at the beginning of the day. And not, there are going to be weeks when everybody doesn't show up. We had a week this week where almost, I think everybody but like 2 people were there. Chapel feels better when the whole group is there. There is just this sense of excitement and expectancy and participation. Obviously, it just feels better. What happens when we go to prayer meeting and there are only a handful of people? It's super quiet. People don't feel the same liberty they do as when there's a room full of people creating a sound. You make a difference. You matter. I think about, as a pastor's kid, sometimes you have a little bit different perspective. I think about how pastor must feel when he spends his time, his energy, his family, they sacrifice. And don't get me wrong, I don't like it when people act like, oh, it's a burden to be in the ministry. Being in the ministry is a privilege, and you know what you sign up for. So I'm not saying that, but at the same time, there are sacrifices that you make when you're in the ministry, when it's your family time, or your kids they get used to, nope, sorry, we can't do that because we have this commitment. So how must it feel when he invests prayer, study, physical hard work, finances, because he contributes his own finances to this? and they plan an event or a service and people don't show up. What kind of disappointment and how they might feel deflated. There's a core that shows up. There's people who, there's going to be people there and things are going to get taken care of, but we are more effective when the whole body is engaged. Sickness can't be avoided. Things happen. Cars break down. Kids have school projects, school programs. We all have extenuating circumstances. And so, again, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm berating or kicking anybody while they're down, because we all have things that cause us to not be here. But something I'll ask myself sometimes, I'm talking about the time when it's like, I'm just weary. I could just use the rest. I really would stay home. I ask myself, would I miss work? If I worked, and now I work for my husband, so it's a little different, but if I worked a public job, would I call in for this? Would I get away with calling in consistently for this? Would I miss a very important appointment? If I had plans to do something super exciting and I felt the way I feel today, would I miss that? Would I miss an appointment I'd waited a long time for? Sometimes, you need to see a specific doctor, or you need an appointment with a specific person for a specific reason. Would I miss that appointment today? What does my character say? And what does integrity dictate that I do? Not only that, but how I show up matters. The energy that I bring matters. If I come and I'm just like, I'm here, I showed up, please stamp my card, I was here. But I don't bring an energy that says, hey, we're here with expectancy. God has a purpose for us being here today. And what can I do to contribute? What can I do to move that forward? Science has shown us that the mind and the body keep score. Your mind and body know when you don't show up. And I don't even mean just physically. If you don't show up with the energy, with the intentionality, your mind and body keep score. And it's not even as much what you're communicating to others, as though that's important. And like I said, it's disappointing when we don't all show up. It's not as much fun. It's not as effective. It's not as exciting. It's not as, you fill in the blank, when we're not all here. But not only that, you're communicating to your mind and your body that it's okay for me to let myself down. It's okay for me to not show up. And I'm telling myself, I'm not worthy. I'm not worth the effort. I'm not worth the time. And you may not be thinking that consciously, but your body and your mind keep score. Well, it's probably not that important. God does not change. So the promises in his word are available to us, and his word will not fail. But condemnation affects our faith. So when our mind and body are keeping score and suddenly we do need something from him, we need to pray, we need him to react, our mind and body says, we as humans are kind of quid pro quo. You do for me, I do for you. And I haven't been showing up, so I don't know that God's going to answer this. Well, the truth is God's going to be faithful to his word, but he honors faith. And our faith is affected by condemnation. So if we've got this background noise in our brain that says, I haven't been showing up and I'm not worthy, that is going to influence the effectiveness and our faith behind our prayer and behind the things we do. So our priorities matter. I do this. I say daily. I'll be honest. I'm preaching to me too. Our family had a round of the flu go around. I'm usually very faithful to a daily planner because our life is insane. And if I don't have the planner, balls will be dropped. And so, but since we were sick, I fell off the bandwagon. And this week I kept looking at it and I'm like, I don't want to catch up. I don't want to deal with it. But normally I keep my planner on my nightstand at night and in the morning. And when I do my prayer and my Bible reading, I write in my planner. Usually at night, I look ahead for the next week and the next day. I transfer anything that didn't get done. I'm, moving ahead to the next day. One of the things that I write every day, I literally write the word priorities. And you know what? I'm going to write it up here. And these are mine. I'm not saying they need to be yours, but I'll write priorities. And then I literally number them. Actually, I don't number them, but I go mentally. The point is that there's an order to my priorities. It's my relationship with God. And then it's Jason, my husband. Because biblically, those two have to come first. And then it's my kids. And then for me, it's Bearce Industrial. It'd be nice if I could spell my own name. It's at Bearce Industrial. And then Connect. That's my reminder that I have responsibilities where Connect is concerned. And then it's Co-op. I write those pretty much every single day. And you might think, well, I mean, come on, you know it. There's something about writing it down every day that holds me accountable, that holds myself accountable. And so it's my reminder that everything I do today needs to fall in line with the order of my priorities. So did I pray? Did I connect with God first? Did I check in with my husband? Do we have unity? Do we both have the same goals and vision for the day? Well, how are my kids? Do they know what they need to do for today? Do I have anything for Connect my point is, like, doing it in that order helps me keep my life in alignment with God's purpose. So I will say church attendance, it's not my relationship with God, but my relationship with God should prompt me to be faithful, because my relationship with God should remind me that I have a responsibility as part of the body, that I have a responsibility to connect with others in the body, that I have a responsibility to be part of that edification of itself. And so preparation starts early, and creating routines can help me to be faithful to my priority. Are my routines aligning with my priorities? On Saturday mornings, generally, again, please don't take any of this as like absolute and we're doing this perfect all the time. But in general, these are some of the things that we do. On Saturday mornings, I'll mention to the kids, we'll be eating breakfast or going about getting ready for the day. Hey, are your church clothes picked out? My kids know, they roll their eyes. Are your church clothes picked out? Have you steamed them already? My older two are like, really? And I'm like, Maggie, you know what? You never run late. I'm not worried about that. Caroline, before you do anything else, pick your church clothes out, steam. They need to be hanging up, because you'll be the one that makes us run late tomorrow morning. I would say that if she's in the room. Their personalities are different. Ellie, go pick something out. If I have time, I'll steam it. If not, hey, you go steam your clothes. Mom, this is difficult. I can't do it. Okay, put it with mine. Judah, Jason, all of our clothes are picked out and they're hanging on hooks in our bedroom. That way, whatever happens, and it also allows me to be flexible when God comes along and says, hey, that person needs you, or an opportunity comes up. I'm not caught off guard and then getting home late Saturday night and scrambling to try to get things ready, or waking up late on Sunday morning because I'm tired and, oh man, we don't have anything to wear. So-and-so's shoes are dirty, or this one doesn't have the piece that goes with their outfit. All of those things are taken care of. Tuesday mornings, I get dressed for work every day when I get up. Even though I work from home, I still dress. Again, it's like, let me tell myself it's time to go to work. So on Tuesday mornings, I dress for church because we're more casual on Tuesday nights. But that way, whatever happens, that's already done. All I've got to do is brush my teeth and freshen up a little bit. And don't get me wrong, you work a dirty job, then just when you get your clothes for work, get your clothes ready for church. But my point is, preparation can start early. ADHD, we talk about that a lot because basically our whole family, not our whole family, but me, Jason, Caroline, half of us have ADHD. And so ADHD dictates that I can't trust that I will remember. I had to learn this the hard way. I'd think of something, oh, I'll remember that. I'm not going to forget. I know I won't remember. So in being intentional, I write things down. I write down a plan. If I'm going to start a new routine, I write it down. I make it visual. If you come over to my house, you'll see people always come in the kitchen and we have on our refrigerator routines as far as like who's responsible for picking up certain things on the day. And then it says bedtime, Judah, 8:30, everyone else, 9 o'clock. Well, that is my person who would like to go to bed early, my hope. Like I'm like reminding everyone, and people will come in and they're like, is this for your kids? I'm like, no, it's for Jason. Because I would be like, we need to get to bed early. And he would say, well, I can't remember when you want Judah to bed. So I'm like, well, it's posted in his bathroom. It's posted on the fridge. It's posted in the hallway. It's not me being a jerk. It's just like me saying, okay, if you can't remember, let me do what I can to help. So writing it down helps me remember. Create a plan. We can't just be a people of good intentions. We have to put actions behind our intentions. Dave Ramsey says, failing to plan is planning to fail. Babies spit up. Tires have blowouts. Kids lose shoes. Hair doesn't always cooperate. If we have an event over the weekend, this is something else. If we have revival services or a conference or something, I will literally start at the beginning of that week. And I'll say to everybody, what are you planning to wear for those services? Does anything need to be washed? Let's go ahead and get those ready on and so the point is, when my priorities have been solidified, when I've crystallized and said, I'm real clear on what's important to me, it helps me align the rest of my week to fit with that. We're in revival, and I don't know about you guys, but we have felt like it's just been one thing after another since revival started. We're entering the holidays, winter sicknesses. And so it's important that we don't lose sight of what matters in these times. And again, I'm not trying to kick you way down, because we all go through discouragement in these times. This year feels different for me. My kids are getting older. Their activities are different. Their relationships are different. And there was a part of me that just feels like it just doesn't feel the same this year. But my heart and my integrity matter, and what God is doing in the corporate body matters. And if I don't show up, I'm a missing puzzle piece. And I don't just mean physically. If I don't show up with the intention of contributing to what's happening, it matters. And so the last thing on your paper, I just want you to, it's about, and I wasn't trying to treat them like kids, but I felt like maybe we could find a way to connect more, to make it personal, because it's important that we actually reflect, that we have some self-awareness, and we go, how am I contributing? Are there way every one of us can show up better? We can all, and we're supposed to be growing in our walk with God. So this is a way for us to look inside and go, what can I do to contribute more? And I'll even say, if anyone, if people feel like, well, so give us a lesson on setting priorities and routines, and how do you define those? How do you organize that? That's something we can do if people are interested in that. Because I'm a nerd. But truthfully, that has come out of necessity, because I fell flat on my face so many times, and I felt discouraged. And I would feel like, well, I don't even know why I keep trying, because every time I try, I fail. And so I had to do research, and and then again, of course, my area of study and my education also led me in that direction. And so I have tools that I realize are a blessing because of my education that I can share with others. And I'll ask if anybody has any comments or any suggestions or any ways that maybe you do this to help you stay faithful in your responsibilities. Anybody? You can stop the video now. Nobody has any comments.